Donald Trump, the Republican National Committee, and several other right-wing legal organizations have now filed a combined 8 lawsuits in 4 out of 7 swing states, challenging the way that voters are registered and alleging in their lawsuits that, of course, you got illegal people voting in these elections, which, as we know from studies from the 62 lawsuits that Trump's campaign filed after 2020, and of course just general common sense, we know that this is not happening. But nevertheless, here we are, 40 some odd days away from the election, and Trump's campaign, the RNC, these other groups are filing lawsuits saying, hey, everybody in your states, which it's only happening in swing states, that's totally weird, right, is registering illegal immigrants to vote. And of course, all those illegal immigrants are all Democrats. You know, Trump claimed on social media last week that the Democrats were in the process of registering tens of thousands of illegal immigrants per day to vote. Per day! Of course, he has no evidence to back this up because evidence to make that claim does not exist. It is a fantasy created by Donald Trump, just like these lawsuits are pure fantasy. In fact, in the lawsuits, they actually don't even cite any specific evidence. So these are lawsuits that have no evidence to back them up, but they're specifically targeting swing states, and some of them are drilled down more further into counties in these swing states that could determine the election, and they're trying to get it stopped. Even though the thing they're trying to stop isn't actually happening, but you know, it's what they're doing. To complicate matters even further for the Republicans, we are, as I said, 40 some odd days out from the election. Federal law prohibits states from altering the way that voters register, from changing election rules. They can't make any changes 90 days out from an election. So we're less than half of 90 days out. So even if these lawsuits had hard evidence, they still couldn't result in any changes ahead of the election. So what's the point? Why even file them when you know, 1, that you have no evidence, 2, they can't even change anything? What's the point of it? The point of it is obvious. The point of these lawsuits is to go ahead and sow doubt in our electoral process so that if Trump loses, he can go out there and say, well, it's because they registered all the illegals. We tried to stop it, and they wouldn't let us. They threw our cases out of court, even though we had all the evidence in the world. Which, of course, they don't, but that's what he'll say. He is using these lawsuits as cover to then falsely claim that the election was stolen from him and that the states allowed it to happen. He is preparing his base to once again do unspeakable things to avenge his loss that wasn't really a loss, even though it will be. That's the purpose of these lawsuits. So what needs to happen here? Well, as we saw with the lawsuits that Donald Trump and his team filed after the 2020 elections, a lot of those people ended up in a lot of legal trouble. They were getting sanctioned, they were being forced to take remedial law courses, and several of them also lost their law licenses, or had them at least temporarily suspended for filing knowingly fictitious and frivolous lawsuits. Okay. Let's do that. And that is what should happen to all of these lawyers filing these lawsuits that they're filing with no evidence. We saw it happen with Carrie Lake's lawyers. They got sanctioned in Arizona for filing frivolous lawsuits. So did she. So all of these groups themselves should be sanctioned by the courts for wasting everybody's time, have to pay a bunch of money. That's great. But the lawyers themselves, these are the people that have to be punished. Sanctions on these lawyers, many of whom are already multimillionaires, sanctions don't matter. They'll pay whatever fee and move on with their lives. Strip them of their legal licenses. Temporarily, permanently, whichever one you deem is more appropriate, I am fine with. But make it to where they can't practice law for at least a couple years, preferably forever. And then you solve the problem. Because if you don't do that now, if you do not punish these lawyers, what's going to happen is that these same lawyers and many others will jump right on Trump's bandwagon after the 2024 election and flood our court systems with more frivolous, fictitious lawsuits. And you can put a stop to it now. Put the lawyers in their places, take away their licenses because you have the authority to do it. And then maybe we don't have to worry about our court system being flooded with idiotic lawsuits from a sore loser, just like he did after 2020. Teach the lawyers a lesson now, and you'll scare away all the others who might want to file lawsuits on behalf of Trump in the coming months. Hi, everyone. This here is little Athena. And Athena would like to know why you haven't subscribed to Fair and Balanced yet. So please, don't let Athena down. Subscribe today.